the audiobook too. Badoop. I'm curious to check that out, but I admit I have yet to. But yeah, I feel like there's just so much more, right? Like, you know.
There's, especially when you start thinking outside of like super like box officey kind of things. Because I was thinking about like movies, and I can't think of the last movie that I watched that had like a good. But because I mostly watch like Marvel and Disney stuff, and they're avoiding that at all costs.
Yeah. So speaking of Marvel, not Marvel, but DC, I was more of a DC kid growing up. One of my sometimes problematic faves is Harley and Ivy.
Oh, is that
the new series? Yeah. Particularly the third season, actually, they get a lot more into like some interesting, like thoughtful relationship dynamics while they're like, you know, causing a mess.
She wasn't very nice.
There's, I mean, not much pop media, but there's also Genderqueer, a memoir, which is a graphic novel I read recently.
That sounds familiar. Like I've heard about that.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find the author off the top of my head. It's evading me. I should say it's evading me off the top of my head. Let's look deeper than the top of my head.
Who do we want to visit? Dionysus.
Maya Kobabe?
Should be useful.
I don't know about you, but like I find graphic novels, like the comics and graphic novels, there's a wealth of more material. And Mayor Kababi here uses neopronouns as well. It's always good when I find new folks who use neopronouns. It gives me more of an opportunity to kind of practice and get them sorted. One thing I've been really appreciating is actually more 2SLGBTQIA kind of rep in Magic the Gathering spaces. A lot more trans content creators commenting on the game, and non-binary folks. And actually Spice 8 Rack recently came out as genderqueer. Is
that like a major player, pun intended, in the Magic community?
I mean, I really enjoy its work. It uses its pronouns, they, them, but leans towards its, which is interesting. It had a whole kind of conversation in some of the podcasts I follow, like talking about that and its decision. But yeah, I mean, it's a very kind of not niche but growing. I mean, you know, can you say this, a YouTuber is niche when they can actually earn a living in, you know, the UK based on their Patreon account? I don't know. I think that's still
pretty.
Kind of
I would love to know numbers about YouTube, and all that stuff. Digression.
Yeah, and like honestly, like not quite like geeky media, but like YouTube video essays and stuff. I'm finding so many more 2SLGBTQIA kind of content creators. Recently found one called the Liberal Cook, which is a pun. And they're a non-binary Irish content creator. Oh yes, get the coins, Erin.
Oh, so many coins. So many coins. Oh yeah, I forget that we're hearing each other real time, but you're seeing things like that with a delay.
And there's so much more stuff now. It's interesting too in terms. I know it's not strictly speaking to SLGBTQIA, but still in the dynamic of kind of like, you know, non-standard relationship orientations. The Sinister Six was a graphic novel series, kind of like not a Suicide Squad, but it's kind of a Suicide Squad kind of like flavor of all of these baddies, kind of like teaming up and stuff. Written by Gail Simone. And there's this, who's a fairly well-known comics author, and there's this one particular scene where one of, you know, the kind of like they're anti-heroes that lean more towards the villainy, but like they're not like, some of them are weird and uncomfortable, some of them are still bad guys, It's not quite anti-hero zone, but like at one point, like a few things happen, and like someone's like, "Oh no!" Like I thought my girlfriend was like dead and in hell, and it's like, and I went and got her out again, because the comic book, very few people stay dead in comic books in general. But also she'd already began dating someone else, and she was like, "Oh well, what do I do now?" And then she has this moment of like, wait a second, I'm a villain. I can be Polly, which I don't know if that's exactly the poly rep.
The representation
that like, I can do this. But that's also a big thing too, right? In representations of like 2SLGBTQIA folks in media, right? Because of the long shadow of the Hays Code, there is still that kind of like queer-coded villain. And it's also, I think, where we get your bury your gays tropes and everything, where like it has a long kind of reach historically, and we still feel it today.
I saw a great post about one of the people who had drawn a lot of Disney villains in like the 90s, who came out as gay, I think. And everyone's like, so you're telling me a queer coded these villains?
But and now it's been striking to see Disney kind of like claw back all of that and just like, And by interesting, I mean predictable and disappointing. But
yeah. Interesting.
But yeah. Oh yeah. Gilgamesh tried so hard to fix the bury your gays trope at the very beginning. That is true. Oh, interesting. You tried to censor out gays in our chat.
I think because it said, oh, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I think because it said bury your
gays?
Oh, I don't know.
Because the bury your gays, for those who don't know, it's like a literary trope, right? Particularly for a long time, if they were going to show a gay relationship, one or both partners would end up dying by the end of it, because it could only be full of pathos and tragedy, rather than just, gay people living their lives and having a good time. But Gilgamesh is interesting, because for those who don't know, Gilgamesh is considered to be one of the world's oldest kind of like narrative stories. It was preserved, this is Mesopotamian. It was preserved, as I understand it, when the Library of Ashurbanipal, pardon my ancient Mesopotamian, actually burned down. Sorry?
Oh, sorry. No, I was like, please pronounce your Mesopotamian correctly. I'm sorry.
Stickler for realism or accuracy. But yeah, because of course the irony there is, in ancient Mesopotamia, a library could be preserved by burning down because everything was written on clay tablets, and thus it baked the clay, preserving it for posterity, and also burying a part of the library where the archaeologists found it. But in that story, Gilgamesh is this kind of like demigod king who's just out of control, like is just, sleeping with everyone's partners and causing a ruckus and not really being a good leader. And so the gods kind of send down some sort of like equal to like kind of like to basically tame Gilgamesh. I don't know. So like the framing of it, this kind of wild man called Enkidu. And there's a lot of historical intimations, both from the text and from like later reflections, that like Enkidu and Gilgamesh weren't just kind of, they were bros, they were pals, they were roommates, but they have a lot of like intense naked wrestling scenes going on in that particular story. And then unfortunately, Enkidu does end up dying because of some of their actions against some of the gods, particularly Ishtar, if memory serves. And then a good chunk of the quest is Gilgamesh trying to sort out the existential crisis that was caused by Enkidu's passing. Bit of an aside, but it's still relevant, I guess. Because that's the thing, there's so much rich 2SLGBTQIA history that we don't often hear about, right? Like it's, not just bury your gays, but also sometimes bury your gays in the archives. It's a thing.
Well, and I think something that I've seen a bit is that when language didn't exist in like whatever culture to define what you are, then it like may not have been written down that like so and so from the 1400s in England is what we would say now bi, but at the time they were very good friends with their like with this such and such a friend, right?
Yeah. They use like it wasn't from the 1400s, but like confirmed bachelor. Hello, shall
Yeah.
I have my dwarf? Welcome to the stream. We're just being geeky about history now. Anyway, I guess
My favorite joke is the it's like, oh yeah, like, oh, he never married, so sad. He lived with his best friend and their scarf collection sold for $3 million.
Oh, okay. King James the Fourth is like, or sorry, the first. Yeah, that's an exclamation point. Is that the same King James, Amy, as the King James Bible? I think it is, because yeah, King James was famously gay,
and wrote the Bible. Nice.
Did a translation. Yeah. I forget who it was, but one of his his lover, he just basically kept on giving like extra titles and lands and stuff to, and made a special position to him, which was basically like officially / unofficially like just the king's lover title. This is the one you get.
That's a very heterosexual move right there.
Yeah. But I can't say that King James the First is the best kind of like queer rep in history, because he was historically very bad about women. In fact, King James the First, his particular translation of the Bible, the King James Version, is why we have that, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. In the original kind of text, it's more like a poisoner. It's kind of like a very particular kind of term or concept. But King James the First, kind of like for various political and possibly truly belief ideological reasons, was big into like pursuing and hunting down witches. So that's why I say a bit of a problematic representation, but definitely representation. If I'm not mistaken. Because I remember seeing some Tumblr Yas Queen about King James the First, and let's unpack some of this.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I could just keep on rattling off historical, potentially queer figures. Chopin, actually, sorry, there's a lot to be said about Chopin's sexuality, and the way that Poland doesn't like to acknowledge that for various reasons. Another one of those classic 19th century examples of they just wrote like that to their male friends in the 19th century.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes true, but that much and that detailed? I don't know.
Hoping we can visit Patroclus up here.
Ooh. I don't know if I remember who Patroclus is from my...
Some may know him as Mr. Achilles.
Okay. That's right.
They're around here somewhere.
Because there's all the chariots.
Well, he's in Elysium. We're in Elysium at this point. I hate these little chariots so much. Such a pain. Yeah.
No, they really cling on to you this
Me too. Oh, Emily has some more specific information about someone who's actually read the Iliad has commented on this instead of just the novelization.
He's the one in the Iliad who wears Achilles' armor to scare Hector from the Greeks' walls. Okay, cool. Yes, I have sadly, noob tier, only read the Odyssey. I have not read the Iliad.
There's all I've read is the Song of Achilles, which is from Patroclus's perspective. The love story version. So it's very good, very sad. What has Hector ever done to me, etc., etc.
When he dies, Achilles gets mad. Says, "Shall I have?"
It's real mad.
My dwarf. Yeah. Wait, was that the one where they pulled the body around on a chariot around the walls?
That's the one.
Is that when Achilles goes Hulk mode?
That's the one.
Yeah, okay, Hector kills Patroclus. Yeah.
How am I doing for help? Let's see. Big Rich.
Yeah. So that's why I thought it might be saying that they were around because there's all these chariots. It's kind of like a nod to
the Oh, that's probably why they're up here, actually. Because we've got all their
It's interesting,
warriors.
right? You do seem to have some like intentional thought into the creature design in relationship to the lore. The lore.
Yeah, because like
Feels
these
kind of
are
funny, yeah.
like even though Elysium is supposed to be the calm, quiet place where you can retire, we're fighting all of the warriors of Elysium who were so good at battle they got to come here. They're so
Much like
frustrating.
nowadays, it's hard to retire.
It's hard to retire, yeah. They're like, I'm just trying to live my life, or I guess not live my life.
Live my afterlife.
Melly would like to know if the Greeks had a god of pancakes.
Oh.
My first thought
mean-
would be I'll make my guess that Dionysus would be the closest, being the god of like partying, and I think pancakes are party food.
I mean, maybe. I was thinking maybe Demeter just because she's the goddess of the harvest.
Oh yeah,
I think,
and like the grandma.
pancakes. I particularly think like the flour and stuff in them.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
Hestia,
Hestia. Hestia is oh yeah. Hestia is a deep cut. You don't hear about Hestia all that often.
I like that there's two kinds of people with this question. One, pancakes are a party food. Two, pancakes are a grandma food.
But no, that's right. I forgot about Hestia. Yeah, she's like the goddess of the hearth and domesticity and the family and home. So like pancakes are very homey. So yeah, I'd say Demeter or Hestia for my votes. I don't know. Like I don't tend to like get drunk and have pancakes, but I don't want to shame anyone who does.
There was one time, okay, brief aside, and I apologize, when I was living at home and I was home by myself for a bit because parents were out of town to visit my sister. And I went to my friend's party, and then I got home at 3 a.m. and I'm like, no one's around. I can make Eggos, and I made myself drunk Eggos at 3 in the morning.
Good stuff.
So, I highly recommend Eggos as a hungover food, or just any time, any mood.
Indeed. Are there like particular like 2SLGBTQIA foods? I mean,
I think it depends, because I think we were having this discussion when we were at the parade earlier.
yeah.
About how asexuals have we have claimed garlic bread and cake as our own. I don't know if there's for various identities, if there's other foods that have been claimed, or if that's
Can one have ice cream?
But did you say ice cream? That's pretty good.
All gays are vegetarian. Oh my! I don't know about that, but definitely I know a lot of trans vegans, but I don't know if that's like a explicitly acknowledged cultural thing.
Here they are. It's them. He doesn't have much to say because I'm on my 110th escape route, so I've exhausted all the dialogue options.
You again.
Can't you tell we're on a date?
Level premium goods. I don't know why I think it's funny that they add premium to that. It's like the hard
Premium Hydra flesh.
Delicious. Artisanal. It's vegan Hydra flesh.
Yeah, obviously.
Like the vegan butcher on Gottingen Street in Halifax. Yeah.
The other question that I think there's kind of two here that I will put forth to participants is so when there isn't good LGBT representation, what do you have a favorite headcanon? So like something that you pretend is the case. And related to that is if there's a show or a movie or book or something that came out in the past that if it were to be released today, you think would be a lot more LGBT than it is. I was thinking of that because Merlin. That's one of the reasons why I was thinking of that, because I've been rewatching Merlin. And the other thing is that I was thinking about this with Battlestar Galactica, the 2003 version. I'm like, if this came out today, everyone would be LGBT. There'd be trans characters, there'd be bi characters. Farscape. Yeah, you were telling me
Yes,
about Farscape.
Shall I Have My Dwarf says, Erin's ego story reminds Melly of Eleven from Stranger Things. She would like you to know that.
I am very flattered. 11 is my
Mhm,
soul person.
mhm.
I relate strongly to 11.
Yeah, Farscape. Yeah. Honestly, like looking back at the Eccleston like Doctor Who, I mean they had one moment of being explicit about that Doctor being bi, but like it could have been bier.
Yeah, that's true. And they probably would have, especially with like Captain was
Yeah,
um
Harkness? Or no,
yeah, Captain John. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot his
Jack
name.
Harkness?
Yeah, Jack, Captain Jack.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Because he was in it in that season, and it's
Mhm.
decidedly extraordinarily
It was charged.
by
Mhm,
so
yeah, yeah.
Captain Jack. Yes.
Captain Jack will get you by tonight. Just throw in a gratuitous Billy Joel reference. Oh, one of the funniest takes I've seen in the Billy Joel Piano Man song was like Tumblr has decided that the Piano Man is the only straight person at a gay bar who doesn't necessarily realize that they're a gay bar. So like it just reinterprets all of the lyrics with that background context, and it actually kind of works, and it's hilarious. But yeah, so like yeah, there's some Doctor Who stuff. There's some other ones, but that doesn't originally have it. I mean, the kind of the classic is like Holmes and Watson, but like.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually very true.
Like, one of the originals. Well, 19th century. Hmm. And actually, I don't know if you've been seeing a lot of the Dracula weekly, the Daily Dracula, but a lot of discovery of like Mina and Lucy, and some of the ways that like they write about it to each other as opposed to like the way they write about their husbands.
Oh, interesting.
It's like very different energy here.
Delicious.
Oh my, what are the good ones? Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Yeah, yeah, that is true. There was just a lot of kind of like, I mean, the whole Garrick and Dr. Bashir thing in Star Trek Deep Space Nine was like, I mean, it was almost text. It was definitely subtext. But yeah, oop, he returns.
So so when you when you make the game harder for yourself, one of the things it does is gives Theseus a gold chariot and machine gun.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
It's the first time it was okay. Let's get some divine help from the boyfriend.
Good stuff.
Theseus yes. Oh, actually, this is something that
Like, that's because you're a king. Ah, that's supportive.
we were talking about because Apollo's not in this game. As one of the gods that you can get boons to, and I'm like, good, because after the Song of Achilles, I have major problems with Apollo. Having
Fair.
been responsible for the death of Achilles and all. But then when I was Googling, Greek mythology LGBT representation, one of the, when Google gives you like questions that other people ask, one of them was, is Apollo the god of bisexuals?
The god of what, sir?
The god of bisexuals. I'm like, so he's a mixed bag, is what I'm getting.
Fair. I mean, that's the thing too, right? When we talk about like 2SLGBTQIA representation, it doesn't have to present people as being perfect. You can have just like a legitimate villain if it's done thoughtfully, and still have them be whatever gender and sexuality.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Good representation doesn't mean good, like lawful good style good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just as a real person, real motivations, not
nuance and enough like 2SLGBTQI people, so there's not just the one. And that extends to all sorts of different groups and representation, but yeah.
I'm laughing because I saw the moderator comment thing that Mirabelle of Dropbook says, and I appreciate that comment.
How do you want to handle that?
I'm okay with reading it if you are. I feel like I've.
Okay, so but also allowing it.
I mean, I think so. I don't.
Okay.
We're all adults here.
That's true, I guess. Yeah. Boom. He kills Achilles because there can only be one dramatic bitch. There's Mirabelle Dropbook. No worries. I'm just like, I mean, yeah, we're associated with a university. We can say some swears. They exist in the world.
Finally.
We've got a cat come to join us.
Oh, cat cam.
Cat cam. I'll have to fix it. There she is.
Mm.
And then everyone will get to see her.
There. Ah.
I'm just gonna
Gorgeous.
make sure I fix my camera angle.
Oh, you got a piano too. That's cool. Sorry,
Yep, yeah. I love my piano.
Stuff.
I like how it looks better on my webcam when I have the thing open. But then the cat, here's my biggest fan. The cat will jump on it and make a racket, etc.
Yeah.
So.
Shall I Have My Dwarf says Greek dramatic bitch Highlander. It could be only one. Oh my, this is like RuPaul's Drag Race. So drag is like talking about gender and drag and queer spaces. Like I don't know, like I recognize that it's like part of the culture, but like, and I've been to a number of drag shows, and I've been to so many queer bars, and like where it's kind of a thing. But I find like they're so mean to each other. I'm like, why can't we be flamboyant and nice? There's that kind of like ritualized kind of like shade throwing in a lot of drag queen spaces.
I don't know much about that, but is it was that like before like the drag race as the like competition style? Cat, you gotta get up. Like did it originate from that, or?
I mean, my understanding it was like the kind of like the ballroom kind of like scene. And it was also like largely like led by people of color and kind of like taken on by white gays, and like drag kings and queens and stuff. Like my understanding, there was always kind of a competitive quality to it and like kind of ritualized, but I'm not a 100% sure an expert. I only really kind of became part of that scene when I came to Toronto in like 2008, which you know is a very queer city, if you know that.
Here goes.
Well, you know, it was. Now it's getting too expensive and everyone's moving to Montreal. But gentrification. I have one of my cousins who's also gay has actually studied geography, and his honors thesis dissertation was on how the gays are partially responsible for gentrification, but his political analysis was such that that was intrinsically a good thing and not necessarily a problematic thing. And yeah. Let's see.
Doesn't taste like anything.
Siri, you're blocking the chat.
Is that like a mandrake plant or something there in the previous screen? Like kind of hanging out in a well?
Oh yeah, so it's the Siri, please.
Uh-oh.
It's
This was not the challenge mode I opted in for.
No. Oh, there you go. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, I guess it is. I've never really looked too closely at it because I'm always in a big hurry. It's just to cure you of poison when the screen goes all green because I've been poisoned
Okay.
by the satyrs.
Here, drink this pool water I'm in.
Oh, I see. Emily, you should know this is definitely the save with God mode turned on. There's probably not
You are
time.
nailing this with no God mode.
But
Well
alas,
done.
I do have God mode turned on. I will if there's time I can at least start a run on the one with God mode. Or without God mode so that you can see how hard it is. Oh, this is synced.
Alas, Shall I Have My Dwarf says, my favorite Halloween costume was when I dressed up as a mandrake boot. That's cool. Well, I did a bit of reading about mandrakes in the 16th century when I was studying Paracelsus, which again is an interesting, not unproblematic historical figure who had a lot of things to say about gender and alchemy and magic, and mandrakes, as it turned out. I don't know, it's a little bit graphic. I don't know if I should get into all the details of where mandrake comes from and for Paracelsus, but it's a bit morbid and various bodily fluids involving. But yeah. Also, like Halloween, I don't know about you, but like I think it's very perfect that all this L2SLGBTQIA like history stuff is in October, because like I don't know about your circles, but in my circles, Halloween is basically queer Christmas. It's like the most important time of the year, the spooky time when folks get to dress up.
It is
My
a very
ex would always
important
dress
time.
up as David Bowie.
It's true. Does I know the answer for some people in the chat, but does anybody have their Halloween costume planned? If you have a Halloween costume, I know Emily's answer. I don't know if Melly has her costume planned.
Yeah. Shall I have my dwarf? For you already designing like an incredibly elaborate piece? Shall I have my dwarf goes hard on everything she does?
Ooh.
Melly wants to be 11 or Finn from Adventure Time or Buffy. Those are all good options.
Nice.
Or some hybrid of all of them. No.
One of my instructors in library school, we were asking what his kid dressed up as. For Halloween, he was in grade 1, and he's like, he had a Spider-Man costume and a pizza costume, so he dressed up as Spider-Man, dressed up as pizza.
It's got layers. Or should I say toppings?
Yeah.
I have never really been into Halloween. Gasp. I mean, that's fair. Honestly, like, I find that I get overwhelmed and don't tend to have a costume, but I really do appreciate it.
I'm so excited that it's on a weekday again, which you would think is weird, but it's because last year when I dressed up on, like, October 29th at work, there was literally no one else on campus wearing a costume. It was very awkward.
Oh, Shadow, if not of Melly's options of the Captain Marvel costume I bought her for a birthday party earlier this year. Well, maybe you could make the Captain Marvel costume into something else, too. If they're not feeling Captain Marvel-y.
Nice.
Will likely wear my cape again because I like that. Yeah, cool.
Any excuse to wear a cape.
Oh, there was... So I was visiting my partner in Austin, Texas there, what is time? Last year? 2 years ago? I don't even know. But like, there's actually this really huge costume store in Austin. It's just like...
Oh.
It's like this labyrinth of costumes. It was pretty impressive in the variety.
Austin sounds great.
Do you think people will be mad if I bring my bow to work? I don't know. I think like the big thing about it is whether or not it's strung, or I don't know. Yeah, that's a fair question.
I think if by people you mean people in the library, I think the answer would be no, but if it was people who would care that you brought a weapon to campus, probably.
I think what you're referring to is narcs. No.
Snitches.
I didn't become a librarian to be a narc. But yeah. But yeah, that's a fair thing to be cautious about or not sure about. Maybe a toy bow. We could bring in Nerf bows. We could have like a Nerf fight in the library.
Oh, that'd be pretty fun. There's some LNAP ideas for you.
Yeah.
Do you think I can make it without dying? I have 17 health left.
You're getting... Oh, do you have a potion or something? Ouch. What's going on there?
No, but I can, I have 3 death defiances.
Okay, so there's one. You got this, says Mirabella Dropbrook.
Hashtag you got this, featuring Brenna, who's coming next week, right?
That's true, yes. Ooh,
I think of her every time someone says the phrase you got this.
Branding.
Yes.
Like I think of that film every time someone says the word up. No, not really. Oh. So like one of the things like when you were fighting him, he was like quite low and then he came right back again. Like how many times does he do
Yeah,
do
just twice. Or like just the once. It's I have greater call, it's fine.
Laser time.
Oh, twice he's got me.
You got it, man. Boof.
You cannot cheat death. Who do you think I am, bro? I think it's because when I was playing the other day to try and get to a good save, oh boy,
Mm-hmm.
I was playing with the like bracers, the gloves, where you can just be right up in his face and just smash on him and he dies immediately.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
different strategy for each weapon.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a bit more of a hassle for you.
The
Let that go.
it's fine. The machine gun is hilarious, but I'm so bad at it, so I didn't want to. There we go.
Oh, they almost got him there. Oh, I think he. There we go. He did explode.
You busted me.
I'll grant you, Zagreus.
Well done.
I should, I will show y'all when we get back to the House of Hades. Notice how when he revealed himself, he like shrugged off his cloak and it burnt into flames. Hilariously, in Hades' bedroom, he has a closet full of cloaks.
Mm-hmm. A cloak is like a good look.
It is. Gotta bring him back.
Mm. Then again, I'm just a fan of the swoosh in general. Any clothing that I can swoosh.
Big fan.
Just killed the god of the dead. Gonna have to catch a fish.
I run a cape factory over here. That is true.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Pete Lemons. Oh. Bears. Speaking of 2SLGBTQIA representation.
And there we have evidence Zagreus is a peace sign, bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who's around to have a conversation with.
Widely average spawn capes or Cuber 6 cape? What's
Oh, someone's...
Cuber? Gravity defying. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, that's also a particularly good look. Yeah, like it's like like teleporting or swirling around. Mm-hmm. Classic. Yeah, Cyber 6, yes. So actually, speaking of like 2SLGBTQIA representation, like I don't know if you know the Thought Slime's whole video on Cyber 6 and trans issues, but that was a thing.
There's no such thing as lesser gods, lad.
Mary Bella Dropbox says, "Don't I forget Dusa,
Oh.
Ace Queen."
Oh, I've never thought... Let's see if she's around.
But yeah, Cyber 6 is cool. Though apparently, like it's like if you like the cartoon as a kid on YTV, the comic is a lot more messed up and adult and messy. I think it was by some Argentinian authors. Oop. Oh,
The spice is working out all right.
does Dusa have anxiety in this game?
I think so. I think there's a way to, like, fill up her hearts completely. But I don't know. I haven't got to that part yet. We're going to pop by Hades' bedroom so you can see his closet full of cloaks.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, the spawn capes are cool. Meta Knight from Kirby, the little teleporting cape twirl he does.
For once.
That is a nice picture.
Yeah, family portrait.
I like their 3 skulls on top of things.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like... I mean, I'm assuming it's a Cerberus thing.
Mm.
But it's kind of sad to me to have, like, the three skulls representing your dog.
No, that'll drop regarding anxiety. You would too if a guy killed you in your sleep. That is fair. Yeah. No, like Medusa. Yeah, I think we talked about this last time we played Hades. Like, yeah, Medusa does become this powerful representative of like protecting of women's and like particularly sex workers.
Even among those born longest ago within the
Oh, she is an unproblematic bi.
Oh yeah, let's say hi. Let's make some song requests.
Hello, my friend. Let's get back to my song.
I was hoping we would run into Orpheus and Eurydice as well, but not this run. Oh, what song should we play? My favorite song. This is gonna be my time. Do you like the disco ball? I want to see if we've got a few minutes left. I will just show my favorite things in this game.
Cool.
Like you can. I'm saving it to buy all of the things, but when you switch things, Hades tells you off.
Work approved.
Sometimes.
Blue color of some sort for the drapery there.
Maybe not.
Moody Blues.
Let's see. Let's go all blue. I don't see why not.
Laurels ought to give us a
Shall I Have My Dwarf says, Melly says Play Dead, and I...
Oh, was that on the list of
Is that a
songs?
song?
That's... Oh, I think that's the song that plays when Thanatos comes.
No?
Oh,
Cool.
no, it isn't.
Oh, Death and I.
Maybe Emily remembers. Emily, do you remember the one that plays when Thanatos comes to help you? I'll give her a few seconds. Yeah, let's... anyone else around? Oh, this is the statue of Olympus.
Uncle Zeus and the others got us this
I forgot.
Admire. Press D to admire.
Press E to admire, pet the dog, practice the lyre. Oh, so many things you can do in this game. It's great.
Cool.
Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, the other, I don't think it's necessarily related to LGBT topics, but since we're in Greek mythology land, I don't know if people are excited about the Percy Jackson show that's coming out. I think it looks great. I'm excited.
I hear that Percy Jackson is like one of those authors who like actually tried to get better and do a lot of like you know work in his writing as time went on, rather than other authors who get worse over time for a range of reasons.
Yeah, not naming
But I
any
never
names.
actually I never actually read any Percy Jackson.
They're good. I've reread the main series recently. Oh, you're reading that right now? Nice. And then I heard that and then there's a second series in Greece, and then there's a Roman one, and I think they get progressively better. From what I know.
Good stuff.
So yeah, and then the show looks exciting. I'm excited they have the for Dionysus. I don't know his name, but the guy who plays Adrian Pimento in Brooklyn Nine-Nine for Dionysus, which I think is some top quality casting.
Cool.
Here's the railgun.
You know, if they have the Adkarna mechanism, sure they could have Ankara. You know, the astrological clock. Jason Mentzoukas?
I knew it was a very Greek sounding last name. Yes, he's gonna be Dionysus, and I think it's gonna be great. Just like salty, very salty Dionysus.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know, Erin. Just want to talk a little bit about what's happening next week as well.
Yeah, for sure. Go for it.
So next week we'll actually be having another guest on the stream. This will be Brenna Clark-Gray, who is actually a critical education technologist here at TRU. Talk a little bit about her work. She runs a podcast for TRU and does all sorts of interesting things while we play a game that she's quite fond of called Unpacking. And actually, I'm not super familiar with this game myself. Apparently, it also has queer content, so it kind of like segues from one week to the other. And yeah, we'll be having a chat with her.
Nice. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, there was a period there where I saw a lot of articles about it being like, this is a really zen, thoughtful, meditative game. And some people were getting really into it.
Like many things, there's the people who play Stardew Valley to have a chill time, and the people who have an Excel spreadsheet for their farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if there's anyone here who's in Kamloops and TRU student, we're doing tomorrow afternoon a Pride story time. So we have some children's books in the library, and we're gonna have a nice little story time. So you can come and you can bring children if you I was gonna say if you know children, but don't just like bring random children. You know, if you have children or are babysitting children and are responsible and can bring them places, or if you're just by yourself, yeah. So if you just want a relaxing
it can just be chill
time,
to read together in the same space.
Yeah, and just read some of our children's books that we have. But other than that, I think I'll just say thanks everyone for coming. For hanging out. This has been a good time.
Yeah. Cheers all, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next time.